like I say, there are some people on the right who are very, very angry about this. And then there's other people on the right who are like, not sure if they're supposed to be angry about it yet, and they need to check. Here is Caitlin Collins interviewing Representative Rich McCormick, Republican from Georgia.
As we're waiting for the president to arrive here in Riyadh, on what we mentioned at the top of the show and that CNN confirmed yesterday, this major gift that the United States is going to be accepting from Qatar, a free luxury jet. Is that something that you personally are comfortable with?
It's just kind of something that new came up. I haven't really evaluated in a historical concept. I know there's a bigger gift than I think than we've ever gotten before, but I'm sure that we'll run it through the legal course to make sure that it's not going to be something nefarious. Each country is going to try to woo us in different ways. I think this is just...
Oh, pardon. I love this. Like, wait a second. We're going to run it through the legal course and see if it's not nefarious. And each country is going to try and woo us. I mean, I don't feel that wooed by it. I got to be honest with you. Like, I'm not wooed by it.
You're not?
No, I don't feel like... I wasn't looking for a plane. Now, if I was to get a new, let's say, Subaru Outback, I'd be a little bit wooed.
I want the Pentagon to have a new giant plane.
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
I mean, you guys are you're America last. I mean, I personally feel a lot of comfort that Donald Trump will have a renovated plane to ride around the world.
It makes me.
I sleep better at night.
I guess if you run into some like Canadian or something like that, and you're like, have you seen our plane? It looks so much better than yours. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's wooing us, but go ahead.
Bigger gift than I think than we've ever gotten before, but I'm sure that we'll run it through the legal course to make sure that it's not going to be something nefarious. Each country is going to try to woo us in different ways. I think this is just an offer of friendship, but I'm sure it'll have to be legal if we're going to accept it.
Oh, okay. It will have to be legal if we're going to accept it. There was a kid's joke I remember that there were two kids out on the playground, and they were like, I don't know, like in 5th grade or 4th grade or something like that, 3rd grade, back before, kids that age had phones and whatnot. And one kid says to the other one, hey, do you know what time it is? And the kid says, well, I know it's not 5 o'clock. And the kid says, how do you know that? And he goes, because I'm supposed to be home by 5 o'clock.
It's
That's how we're going to find out if it's legal or not.
Right.
Well, I mean, if he accepts it, it's probably legal. So I'm not that worried. We're all getting wooed.
Right.
Legal if we're going to accept it.
$1 million plane.
It's got to be legal if we're going to accept it.
You just heard in his first term, he accused
all right,
him
we don't need any more. Meanwhile, you have Donald Trump saying that this is a valuable gift for us. The Defense Department, all of us, we're all getting this luxury
all of
plane.
us, Ivanka.
We're all getting it.
Jared.
The Defense Department's going to be able to use it until we get a new plane in. And then, of course, you don't want it to go to waste. It'll come to my presidential library. And then, of course, it's like, well, you don't want it to sit there and get rusty because the breaks if the wheels don't move. So you got to fly it a lot. And then you got a Republican congressman saying, well, I'm sure we won't take it if it's illegal. And if we take it, then it must be legal.
It means we cleared it through the legal course.
Yeah, the legal course.
It's unironically, if the president does it, that means it is not illegal, basically.
The legal course, 18 holes. Yeah, I love that one.
But here is Ben Shapiro. Now, does Ben Shapiro suddenly find some integrity and realize, wait a second, I've been shilling for Donald Trump and conservatives for so long. I have been, there's been no thing that the Republicans or conservatives could do that I would find absolutely reprehensible, unless, of course, it is in some way possibly linked to supporting the end of the killing and starving and bombing of Palestinians in Gaza. Then all of a sudden, Ben Shapiro finds
bribery a little distasteful?
A little bit distasteful.
That the Trump administration is now preparing to accept a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar. It is a $400 million gift available for use by President Trump as new Air Force One until shortly before he leaves office, at which time, according to the deal, the plane doesn't stay with the United States government. It then moves to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. According to ABC News, the gift had been expected to be announced when President Trump was on his visit to Qatar. A senior White House official said it's not going to happen in Qatar anymore, presumably thanks to social media blowback. President Trump put out a statement on Truth Social about the blowback, saying, so the fact that the Defense Department is getting a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction so bothers the crooked Democrats, they insist we pay top dollar for the plane. Anybody can do that. The Dems are world-class losers. MAGA. So, again, the arrangement itself is, shall we say, I believe the technical term, the legal term, is skeezy. Sources told ABC News that lawyers from the White House counsel's office...
He's such a coward. It's skeezy. Is it skeezy? Is it skeezy? That is such a weird way to
This is the first skeezy thing Trump has ever done.
Yes, Donald Trump is not a skeezy person. We can't ever imagine that he would do something skeezy. And the U.S. government has never done anything skeezy. Oh, the entire bloated $900 billion defense department budget, that's not skeezy. There's nothing skeezy going on there.
No.
I mean, he is such a coward. Even when he's being critical of Trump, he cannot say that this is like corruption.
And this must be the first time that Donald Trump has accepted bribes. Because, I mean, Ben's finally deciding to speak out about it.
Oh, I'm sure that Ben Shapiro was screaming at the rooftops. How can all of these people go to Trump hotels in?
And I'm sure, I mean, really, I remember from the election just less than a year ago when Miriam Adelson said, I'm going to give you $100 million and you're going to help annex the West Bank. Ben Shapiro was outraged about how skeevy it was and how transparent it was that he was hosting this Zionist at his golf course in Bedminster and saying, I'm going to do this kind of thing for you in a transaction. I'm sure Ben Shapiro was on top of that. Or is it just when Arab people do it?
Well, I don't even know if it's just when Arab people do it because I don't remember.
Oh, the Saudi thing.
Yes. Ben Shapiro ever going after Jared Kushner on the $2 billion Saudi Arabia deal that he had.
Well, that was in service of the Abraham Accords and, you know, potentially normalizing with Israel. I guess this is what this is all about.
Might be about Israel more than the racism. Yeah.
It must be also why Chuck Schumer has decided to finally grow a spine and is going to begin placing a hold on all President Trump's DOJ nominations because of this Qatar plane idea.
I didn't know there was a in case emergency break glass still case to break, Chuck, but now all of a sudden it's time to break it open.
He's decided.
Did Chuck Schumer wake up?
He woke up. Yeah. That red AIPAC phone call.
The Baileys called me. They're outraged about this plane.
The Baileys in Tel Aviv.
Democrats, they insist we pay top dollar for the plane. Anybody can do that. The Dems are world-class losers. MAGA. So, again, the arrangement itself is, shall we say, I believe the technical term, the legal term, is skeezy.
Skeezy.
Sources told ABC News that lawyers for the White House counsel's office and the Department of Justice drafted an analysis for the Defense Department, concluding it's legal for the DOD to accept the aircraft as a gift and then later turn it over to the Trump library, and that somehow does not violate laws against bribery or the Constitution's prohibition on emoluments. The Constitution literally says the U.S. government cannot accept official gifts from any king, prince, or foreign state.
Pause it. You don't have to go back, but I just want to say that I am willing to bet that this is the first time Ben Shapiro has said the word emoluments or emolument clause without mocking people bringing up the emoluments clause.
Yep.
When you had like the presidential ethic chief from the first administration, basically Trump administration, light his hair on fire about emoluments. So just continue. This is just hilarious.
Apparently, Attorney General Pam Bondi and the top White House lawyer, David Warrington, concluded it would be legally permissible for the donation of the aircraft to be conditioned on transferring its ownership to Trump's presidential library before the end of his term. And apparently, Pam Bondi, who, it should be mentioned, at this point was once a actual FARA registered agent acting on behalf of the government of Qatar, provided a legal memorandum.
Well, pause it. I wonder how many times Ben Shapiro brought that up in the past.
It's odd. It's odd because this was all stuff, when she was nominated, we talked about this.
Weird.
Right? But now he's upset about it.
I wonder where he's going with this.
Pam Bondi who, it should be mentioned, at this point was once an actual FARA registered agent acting on behalf of the government of Qatar, provided a legal memorandum addressed to the White House counsel's office last week after Warrington asked her for advice on the legality of the Pentagon accepting such a donation. We'll get to more on that in a second. First, choosing Simply Safer.
Okay, can we go? Is there anything? It is worth to keep going. Yeah.
Free. That's simplysafe.com/Shapiro. There is no safe. Like similar to speed dating. However, instead of meeting potential romantic partners,
No. That's it. I think.
No.
That's not it?
He comes back to it, doesn't
Oh. He must after the ad break.
You know, maybe we're
Here's the good
giving
news.
too much agency to the players here. It's like, you ever throw a coin into a fountain and it's like you're wishing for good luck? The Navy has bucked like 3 fighter jets off of aircraft carriers in the Red Sea in the past few weeks. So maybe that's like, the sea is just returning the Navy a jet.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Let's start off with this. Qatar is not allegedly giving President Trump a $400 million jet out of the goodness of their sweet little hearts, no matter what Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says. They try to stuff money in pockets in totally bipartisan fashion. Just rewind a few years. While Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, Qatar gave $1 million to the Clinton Foundation for Bill Clinton's birthday and didn't even bother to inform the State Department, as they promised they would do. So, again, Qatar will court anyone it thinks will have power, Republican or Democrat. It's an equal opportunity influencer, as long as you can help whitewash their image or smooth over the fact that they are, in fact, the world's largest proponents of terrorism on an international scale in terms of PR and in terms of putting money in pockets. Qatar likes to present a modern Western-friendly face.
Pause it for 1 second.
Money.
Now, Qatar. Why does that name sound familiar? Oh, I know what it was, because I was reading about how Netanyahu shuttled money to Hamas for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting because Qatar comes up because it is a partial funder of Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera was really the only media outlet that was able to get out footage of the genocide until, Israel's cracked down and also killed a record number of journalists in this genocide. So they don't let Western outlets in unless it's very highly monitored by the Israeli government, again, because they control Gaza's borders, land, and sea. And then for journalists who are Palestinian or who may be working for Al Jazeera, time to assassinate them. But we covered this maybe a month ago that when Netanyahu came and visited the United States, he met reportedly, or Tim Pool admitted it, that he met with him and I guess it was also Dave Rubin, among others.
Chatham House rules.
Yeah.
Chatham.
And this is why I think it's interesting, because we're getting we know that the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's outfit's in some financial trouble. We know that Netanyahu met with 2 guys who had a record of taking Russian money, not asking many questions and taking Russian money, and were victimized by it, both in Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. And according to the Jerusalem, not the Jerusalem Post, Jewish Insider back then, Pool asked Netanyahu if there was a quote, a Qatari quote op to manipulate social media algorithms to make anti-Semitic and anti-Israel episodes appear to receive an outsized number of views in order to incentivize podcasters and YouTubers to make more anti-Semitic content. Netanyahu was non-committal in his response, saying only that it's possible. The prime minister emphasized in the context of Qatar as well as Iran that Israel and the U.S. share the same adversaries. And I just think it's funny that the prime minister of Israel chose to meet with 2 YouTube streamers, and that within the context of this conversation, Qatar's as a nation's ability to manipulate conversation around Israel was brought up, when we know that it's really just like first person footage that people are seeing on TikTok of children getting blown apart. So I don't know.
Just to add to what you're saying, Yair Netanyahu was tweeting about the Qatari connection just days after the Tim Pool thing that we were talking about.
And you hear what Shapiro just said there, that Qatar, what he was saying, like that it can, they can look for bipartisanly people to bribe or whatever, doesn't matter. sounds just like they're projecting a lot, because this is what the Israel lobby.
Well,
give
I don't
money
think
to
they
both
need
parties.
to, I don't think they need to bribe Ben Shapiro. I think they just need to support Ben Shapiro, because Ben Shapiro is going to say that in the same way. Now,
I'm not
someone
saying
like
bribery.
Tim Pool, I think you could actually pay him to change his mind about something.
Right.
It would take, he'd have to turn the ship a little bit slowly. Dave Rubin, it would take about 15 minutes, it seems to me.
Why did you say
I would
it?
also even be surprised if Poole asked that question on his own.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Like
That's what I'm
somebody
trying to
said,
say.
You bring this up so that we can get an American expert online perspective that maybe that Qatar is the villain here. You bring that up as a question, and then we'll let that question hang out there.
Oh, no, I think Tim Pool originated that thought independently with using his own brain and research skills.
I'm just wondering. Why Netanyahu felt that it was a good idea to meet with two streamers who were just in the news for taking money from a foreign government on his second visit to the United States.
We follow Tim Pool.
And the Daily Wire's in some financial trouble. Look, Ben Shapiro is a rabid Zionist and anti-Palestinian racist on his own, but I'm just flagging this for future reference.
Well, the progressives are the real regressives. Is there any more to this?
To Islamic terrorists under the table. This is a regime that has, for literally decades, funneled billions of dollars into the hands of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Taliban. We're talking
From
about systematic,
Israel.
ongoing financial support that has strengthened Hamas's grip on Gaza, provided them with the resources, and yes, enabled terror attacks that killed innocent civilians. Doha, which is the capital, their five-star hotels are basically a retirement home for Hamas leaders. Qatar has been credibly accused by the Treasury Department, by international watchdogs, by regional allies, of allowing financiers of al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the Muslim Brotherhood to operate within its borders. This is a country that has repeatedly failed to crack down on terrorist financing, even after being pressured by the United States and its neighbors. In 2017, former Defense Secretary Robert Gates said, quote, "I don't know instances in which Qatar aggressively goes after networks of Hamas, Taliban, or al-Qaeda." Qatar has, of course, transferred almost $2 billion to Hamas over the years, which, again, is one of the reasons it's so sick to send Idan Alexander to meet with the Emir of Qatar, if that's a thing that ends up happening. Here is the former Saudi foreign minister, again.
Pause it for a second. This is CNN reports December 12th, 2023. Headline, Qatar sent millions to Gaza for years with Israel's backing. The Times of Israel, just 3 days ago, report Netanyahu aide Yurik received payments. The senior advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin, you received payments from Qatar dating back just after a year after the war broke out. The Times of Israel in 2023, Netanyahu propped up Hamas. Israel has allowed suitcases holding millions in Qatari cash to enter Gaza through its crossing since 2018. NPR, why Israel, back in 2015, why Israel lets Qatar give millions to Hamas. Surely Ben Shapiro has Google. They haven't turned off the internet at Daily Wire yet, have they?
Unclear.
I mean, this is going back to 2015. You've got stories about it with NPR.
Netanyahu admitted it, that it's important that they continue to aid Qatar in subsidizing Hamas because they wanted to keep the Palestinians in the West Bank segmented from the Palestinians in Gaza.
100%.
Like, that was a part of their deliberate strategy. It's such a good point that Ben Shapiro makes about how this Qatari money could be going on to both Republicans and Democrats. You know, foreign money could be going and influencing both Republicans and Democrats, you know?
Well, let's listen to another one of Ben Shapiro's buddies come out and talk about this Qatari thing. Now, listen, understand. Of course, it is corrupt for Donald Trump to be getting a $400 million jet. Of course it is.
Yeah.
And it was equally as corrupt for Jared Kushner to get a $2 billion Saudi deal. It's disgusting. It's corrupt. And Democrats should go after it. But you can see who is coming out and speaking out against the Trump administration in the most vociferous way. They are doing so because the Trump administration, because of their chasing the cash, their chasing of this cash has them going around Bibi Netanyahu. And if it's in their best interest in terms of their wallets to essentially provide for some type of relief for Gaza, and who knows where on the spectrum that goes, they'll do it if the cash is there. And this is worrying folks like Ben Shapiro and also, weirdly, even Representative Richie Torres.
Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. I know you've called this move a flying grift, your words, a flying grift, and have noted that the regime's ties to terrorist organizations like Hamas.
Pause it.
Himself is called.
He's being interviewed by Wolf Blitzer, who also used to work for AIPAC. Just FYI. Whatever.
Anyway, is this the type of thing you have to mention? I have to mention that he was Pam Bondi or whatever.
Yeah.
That the regime's ties to terrorist organizations like Hamas. President Trump himself has called Qatar a, quote, funder of terrorism. So what do you think is really behind this move?
It is influence peddling at its most outrageous and egregious. I mean, Donald Trump's $400 million presidential palace in the sky represents the largest gift that's ever been conferred on any president by any foreign government in the history of the United States. And it's outrageous and unacceptable. And just as troubling as the gift
inflation
is the source of the gift, Qatar. As you noted, Qatar is a state sponsor of terrorism. It has a long and ugly history of financing a barbaric terrorist organization, Hamas, which has on its hands the blood of Americans. And it's a cruel irony that both Air Force One and Hamas are going to have something in common, paid for by Qatar.
I mean, you know, the issue with the plane is a problem, but it is just fascinating to me what activates some of the Democrats.
It's pretty gross.
It must be that bipartisan Qatari money.
One of the poorest districts in the country, and this is all Richie Torres talks about.
It's certainly not the $535,000 that Richie Torres took from AIPAC in the 2023-24 cycle. Not that.
That can't be corrupting because it's righteous.
That's a righteous.
That's legal. That's how democracy works.
You don't want him to unilaterally disarm. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.